I hope you're well and welcome to week 2 of Aloha 24 January. I almost said 23 there. I don't know. Does that happen to you too? I mean, I still, have to pause and think about which year it is for a second whenever I write down the date. Hello, hello. All right, so today we're gonna paint a seahorse together, and this is a special seahorse because not only can this be found in Hawaii, it also doesn't have spikes, so that's why it's called the smooth seahorse. And it's interesting, it's a bit tricky to find information on seahorses here, and that's for two reasons. So first of all, they're pretty rare. So I've been here for years and I've never seen one. And I heard that even divers and people that are in the water all the time never see them.
Love you, Keiko.
Bye. That was James. And the other reason is that because we have actually a seahorse farm here in Kona, where I live, when you go Google seahorses in Hawaii, that's what comes up. So I was trying to find information about particularly this seahorse in Hawaii, and it's so difficult because the first 20 results are all about the seahorse farm here in Kona. But I can tell you as much. It's very rare. I've heard from people who've seen it, and they are a little larger than other seahorses. So I think seahorses can be really tiny like this. I've only seen them in an aquarium so far, but in here, like when you get to see one, they can be, pretty big. So I can't wait for the day where I'm in the water and I'll see a seahorse. All right, so how about you guys? Any of you ever seen a seahorse out in the ocean? I mean, in the aquarium, yeah, but have any of you ever seen a seahorse out in the water? Say was Sylvie. All right, so let me know if you've seen one, because then you're probably one of the very lucky and very rare people who have seen one. Okay, so for today's painting, let me just quickly explain the steps, because this is a bit more tricky than what we did last week. So this requires a certain amount of layers. Okay, hold on. Melly says, I have to check my other phone because the comments just disappear when I look at this phone here. But I think she said that she's actually seen, was it a seahorse you saw in the ocean in Germany in the north? Ooh, Denise saw them in the Seychelles. Oh, that's so cool. So Denise, were they the ones with the spikes? Right? The more like what we think the seahorse looks like? A sea needle, really? Okay, so this is what Melanie is saying. Melly is saying right now. She saw sea needles in Germany. I don't know what they look like. Huh. Are these like those ones? The really long ones? We have them here too in Hawaii. If that's what you mean, then they look so funny, and they're very close to the surface of the water, right? Like they swim right under the water surface. I always giggle when I see them. Yeah, they're so funny. And they have like kind of like big eyes. I mean, they're super skinny and they have these big eyes. It's just so funny. Oh, Jenny saw a yellow seahorse, so it's really like what we paint today. Great. Okay, so let me explain the steps to you. So first we'll start with the seahorse itself. We'll do the yellow first layer, let that dry, and then we'll go ahead and, do you see those yellow stripes? So this is another layer of the same yellow paint. It's just gonna use less water, so it's gonna look a bit more darker yellow. Let that dry. Then we go in and add the shadows here in brown and let that dry. Next step, we add all the details with color pencil. And then the last step, I show you how to make this background and with this kind of flowy dark blue here in the background. So what I really love about using color pencil with watercolors is that you can pretty much just try to get a base layer down with the watercolor and then add all the details with color pencil, and you can add texture too. Okay, so let's do this today. I'm gonna turn the camera around and okay, let's go. Oh, and by the way, the rain stopped just for you guys. I mean, the rain came down so hard. It was so insane. Like since yesterday, it has not stopped. It rained all this time, but now everything's good. All right. Sorry for the shakies. You know how it goes. I'm trying my best to not shake too much and also not hit the power button on my phone. Okay, one of these days I'm gonna find out how I can just easily switch. Oops. Okay, got it. So let me just pull up the chat here on my other phone so I can follow your comments. What's going on here? Sorry, I tried to prep this before I started and that didn't work. And I can't find the live stream now. That's weird. Okay, let me try one more time, and if not, here we go, I think. Excellent. Okay, here we are. I'm sorry, guys. I should be able to see the comments somewhere. Maybe if I click on more? No? Okay. Well, you know what? I'm just gonna start with the sketch and then I'll try to figure it out how I can see your comments a bit later. Just know that right now in this second, in this moment, I can't see your comments. And I apologize. It worked pretty well last time. I'm not sure why this time it's giving me so much trouble. All right. So I have this wonderful handmade sketchbook, handmade by Art Moments. She's live with us here too. And last week we did this little guy here. And today we do the seahorse. Okay, this is 100% cotton paper, arches. I'd say for the seahorse itself, you don't necessarily need cotton paper. This could be done on almost any kind of paper. Mixed media would be fine too. The only thing that works really well on cotton paper is this kind of background for the blends, etc. Okay, so for our sketch, let me try how it works if I use a water-soluble colored pencil in yellow. Let me just know how well you can see it. So I put the phone down a little more so I can actually see your comments now again. I hope. All right, so the first thing you want to do is start with a line like this. So it's a bit curved, kind of, you know what it reminds me of is like a violin, one side of the violin. And this is our basic outline shape of the seahorse. And now the rest you can fill in with circles. So I'm gonna change to a pencil. And let me just quickly explain about this pencil because Sylvia asked about it the other day. Because in my other YouTube video, I actually forgot to talk about it, even though I had all my art supplies that I bought in Japan, and I talked about all of them, and I had this in the picture, and I forgot to talk about it. So this is a Uniball Kurutoga mechanical pencil, and the cool thing about it is that when you draw with it, it rotates the lead while you draw, so it's always sharpened. This is, I don't know how they do it. There seems to be like a really interesting mechanism in the pencil. And the cool thing is also it comes in a lot of different designs. So this is peanuts. They also have it made from metal, so more heavy, and it comes in different colors and, you know, different cartoony things. It's really cool. I really like it. Okay, so let's continue. You can kind of draw an oval for the head. Remember that seahorses have a very elongated head, so you really want to draw an oval here. Then for the neckline, draw a circle, bigger circle for the belly area. And then you can continue your line that you first drew here with a bigger circle. So just as I mentioned last time, you can break down everything you draw into shapes. So rather than looking at the outline of an object that you want to draw or paint, I would always try and break it up into shapes that you can more easily draw. Okay, I'm gonna switch to my water-soluble colored pencil again to continue with the outline of my seahorse. And now I'm gonna put the head inside my oval here. Now, if you wanna really go into detail, you can even draw another small circle here for the main part of the head. I mean, you can play this game endlessly. And just break up even the smaller parts of what you draw into smaller circles, for example. So where is my eraser? Before I continue, I'm gonna, if I can ever open this box. Yes, here we go. Pull out my eraser. So yesterday I cleaned up my space here a little bit, and I finally found my nettable eraser again. It is so convenient, but for the longest time I just couldn't find it. So what's cool about is this one is, of course, you know, you can roll it into any shape. You can make a little pointy tip and go into details, but it's also really nice to take it and roll over your pencil sketch to make it lighter. And also you won't have little tiny fuzzy things that, you know, I don't know how to say that in English, but it's kind of like when you have leftovers of the eraser. Okay, let's continue with our little seahorse here. So the head dips in kind of like this, and for the body, just follow the outline of the circles here. I'm gonna just roll over this one more time a little bit with my eraser, so I can still see the outline a little bit, but it's very faint. Okay, I'm gonna draw in the belly. They have kind of like this cute bump here. God, it's so adorable. I mean, aren't they the most interesting, fascinating? I don't even want to call them fish. I know that they are fish, but it's just, when I think of a fish, I do not think of a seahorse. And here for the tail, you go in and just draw a spiral, following your circle's shape here. Now the thing about this tail, and which is common for all seahorses, is that they can really use this as a tool, kind of like monkeys. They can use the tail and grab onto, for example, seaweed. I find that really fascinating. So it's something where you can even see several seahorses cling to each other, and then one of them clings to a patch of seaweed or something, so they don't just get blown away in the water. Okay, and then they have this little fin here in the back. I don't think it's a fin, so I'm sorry if I misname this part here. It just looks like a fin to me. And they do swim with it a little bit too, but it's kind of like a fluttery little piece, so it doesn't do much for them, I think. Okay, and then lightly drawing another circle up here for the eye. Okay, so we have our outline for our smooth seahorse, and because it's a smooth seahorse, I'm not gonna draw in the spikes here. If you wanna draw or paint a different type of seahorse, you could just add little spikes here in the back. I'm erasing the leftover marks of my pencil, and in the next step I'm just gonna lay down a base layer of kind of like a thinned down yellow color, and then I'm gonna try again and pull up the comments on maybe on my iPad. That usually works pretty well. Hi Mikey. I just saw that Mikey came online. I hope you're doing better, Mikey. Okay, where's my mixing palette? Where did I put that? It's one thing I did not prepare, and is my mixing palette. So if you have a mixing palette, you want to grab some of your yellow paint and just thin it down a little bit. Another way to do this is to just lay down a layer of water first. I'm going to do this now because I left my mixing palette somewhere, probably in the kitchen where I cleaned it. You can even paint over the eye here. It's totally fine. And can you see how my water-soluble pencil is already behaving a bit like watercolor? So it's already blending in with the water here. Now, if you're using a pencil or just a regular colored pencil, don't worry. This is actually not necessary. I mean, using a water-soluble pencil, I mean, it's not necessary for this first step. I only used it so that I'll have a very nice, smooth background layer here without any visible pencil marks. But honestly, this is really just a matter of taste. If you, for example, like to add fine liner at the end, you don't have to actually worry much about the pencil lines that might be left behind. Okay, and for today, honestly, because we're gonna use colored pencil later, to add texture and outlines and details. I also wouldn't be too worried about leaving pencil marks here in this step. You can just draw over them later. Okay, so this is the first layer. We'll let this dry, and while it dries, I'm gonna try and take my iPad. I actually prepared a photo for you guys here from one of these seahorses, smooth seahorses. But I'm gonna go into my YouTube app and see if I can find you here and the comments. Okay. I'm really not sure why it's not there. Hold on. So, where is the link? Open in YouTube. There we go. Look at that. Hold on. Now I hear myself talk. Let's mute this. Okay. Got you all now. Let me just read through the comments real quick. Hi, Mom. Okay, here we go. Oh, and Mikey's still in the hospital. I'm so sorry. Oh, you might get out of this place soon? That would be good. Well, all my best, and I do hope you can go home soon. Oh, and Alina is there too. Hello. Hi, Debbie. Oh, wonderful. Okay, so you guys, I can see the comments, so ask me anything. If you have any questions or comments, please do. I can see everything now. Okay. So for the next step, it's really important that this layer is dry. So I'm just gonna turn around and dry this layer with my hair dryer. I'll be right back. And I'm back. Hello, hello. Cotton paper always takes so long to dry, even though, you know, I'm using a hairdryer. It takes quite a while. Okay, so for the next step, let's use a small round brush. I'm using a size 3. You know, it always depends how big your object is that you're painting, of course, what size of brush you're using. But for this size here, I'm using a round brush with a really nice pointy tip. And we're gonna use a pretty opaque mix of yellow here. For those of you who are painting with my watercolors, just as a side note, this is Ko'oko'olau. Ko'oko'olau is a Hawaiian native plant. It's a flower. It's kind of, it's very, it's not a very flashy flower. It has just like, you know, yellow petals, like a daisy almost. But then the name, you know, it's like you have this tiny little flower and then they come up with this big name for it that it took me like 2 weeks to memorize. But please feel free to use any yellow that you have, because the trick really here is to use the same yellow. For the first layer, use the yellow with a lot of water. And then for this detail layer, use the same color, just with a lot less water. And now we're just gonna add stripes to our seahorse. And these stripes kind of like indicate the structure of the seahorse skin. So when you look at a seahorse photo, there are some parts of the seahorse skin that are raised. Very interesting. And so we're trying to indicate that by adding these stripes in the same color. And what it also does is to create a bit more body for the seahorse so it doesn't look so flat. So we're trying here to follow the curve and the shape of the seahorse. And when we get to the belly down here, you'll see that I'll change how I paint those stripes to indicate that the belly is kind of rounded. So I'll start here in the back of the seahorse, and when I move over, I add a little curve like this. And that'll make the belly part here look a bit more round. Okay, I just saw that Alina posted a comment. Let me look at that real quick. The bird. So we have a few birds here. The one that is probably most distinct right now is that pigeon, that one. Then the other birds, well, we have different ones. We have cardinals that also occur on the US mainland, the ones with the red heads. Then we have different small singing birds and finches. Okay, guys, so I could tell you a little preview because next month we're gonna paint birds. Okay, now I said it. You guys know because you are in the live stream here. So Alina, you just might get your wish next month. I did actually plan to paint birds of Hawaii that only occur in Hawaii. You know, those really cool ones, that small, bright red singing birds with, you know, with really funny beaks that are very long. And yeah, just those super, super fascinating birds. But I guess we could also paint a pigeon. They are kind of cute. The pigeons here in Hawaii are very small. It's not like when you go over to Europe and you see those huge pigeons. The ones here are almost bluish, very, very small. Like, I mean, literally only this size. Cute little, very fragile looking pigeons. Very pretty. Okay, so for the tail here, you probably also saw me change direction of the stripes in the sense that I tried to give this impression of a spiral here. So you want to leave a little more space between the stripes here on the outside of the tail, and you want to put them a little closer together here in the center of the tail. I hope I'm explaining this correctly. So let me say, if you would prolong those stripes, they would go to a point here. So you can think of it here in the center as the sun, and you're painting sun rays. towards the outside, like this. Okay, now that we have these horizontal lines, we're also gonna add a vertical line here. First, the one in the belly. So you start around here and then you just paint in a line like this. This is also there to indicate that this is a rounded belly, and this is pretty much the back part, the back side, indicating that you can see a little bit of the back side, and this is the front. And then starting up here, we'll add a second line pretty much in the center here at first. So go down the center of the neck, and when you come to this point, you want to move over to the back side a little bit. And this does not have to be a very straight line. It's actually better if it's not too perfectly straight. It's gonna just give the whole seahorse a more organic look. When you come down here to the tail, move over to the other side again, and then we're just gonna add a small line here. Just following the shape of the tail. And you don't have to go all the way in. It's gonna be really tiny and tricky. So if you can go until here, that's totally fine. Okay, so when you look at your seahorse now, you should have an indicator of a bit of a, you know, belly that goes out here and a nice little spiral down at the bottom. If this doesn't work for you right away, don't get frustrated. It's a bit it's a bit tricky to take a photo and see exactly where you have to put the lines to make it look a bit more 3D, so to speak. So if you just painted these lines and it looks still flat, don't worry. We will also bring out the curved shapes by adding a little more shadow here in the next step, and also by adding some colored pencils. Okay, so for the next step, again, this needs to be completely dry. So you know what I'll do. I'm gonna go use the hairdryer. Be right back. Should be enough. Let me see. Yeah. Okay. It's looking good. Hi, Amy. Lilikoi Journals made it. Whoop, whoop. Amy's got to multitask. Uh-oh. Are you at work? We're not gonna say anything. Amy is watching a live stream, you guys. You know, it's so difficult for me to find the perfect time of day so that everybody can watch, because of the fact that a lot of you are in Germany, and that's a 11 or 12-hour time difference. So for me, it's 9 o'clock in the morning. For folks in Germany, it's 8 p.m. And for everybody in between, it's, of course, you know, certain time of the day where a lot of people are at work. Okay, I need a sip of tea. How about you guys? Ooh, this is almost empty. Let's see if I can get a tiny little drop. Yes, very good. Some really nice green tea I'm drinking today. I really like this one. Sylvie, I'm gonna hire you. Thank you, thank you. Yeah, I always forget to mention that. Thumbs up and comment and like and all that kind of stuff. I just love live streams. I mean, I just love it. So this is why I do it. Okay, I hope you guys are having fun. So for the next step, let's go back to, I think I've been using this anyways, the size 4 round brush, right? And we're gonna add some shadows here. And for this, the mixing palette would come handy. And again, well, I should have one somewhere. Ta-da! Ooh, that's a bit crusty looking, a bit dusty and crusty. All right, good enough. I just dipped my brush in my tea. Oh man, I knew this would happen someday. Okay. I think my brush was pretty clean though, so I'm probably gonna end up drinking my tea later on. So grab some of your brown. If you're painting with Aloha, then this is the paint called Lavarit. You know how this name came into existence? Actually, a bit embarrassing. The pigment is called Lavarit, L-A-L. I misread it. I thought it's connected to lava or something. So I thought, oh, brilliant. I live on the Big Island. We have lots of lava here. I'm just going to call it Lavarit. Later, I realized I was wrong. I misread the pigment. So that happened. But it's fine. I still love the name Lavarit. I just think it's cute. Okay, so thin down your brown pigment, and it doesn't really matter what kind of brown you use. I mean, I'm using this kind of grayish brown here, but honestly, any type of brown works. Just make sure you're using a very diluted version of it. And now we're gonna go in and paint in between the yellow stripes here in the back of the seahorse. Make sure really that this layer is very thin. The paint you use for this layer is very thin. I'm almost thinking this is a bit too dark. However, because watercolor usually dries a bit lighter than when you apply it when it's still wet, I'm just gonna go with it for now. But if you put down your first blob of watercolor here and you feel it's too dark, just water it down a little more. And if you feel the first one is too dark, you can clean your brush with water and then dab it on a paper towel. If you don't have one, you can just use your sweater and just pick up some of the paint here to make it lighter. And then you just repeat these steps for all of the areas that you feel are a bit too dark. Okay, we'll just continue going down here. And as we go down to the tail section, we're gonna actually move from applying shadow on this side. We're gonna move over to applying shadow here and then along the spine on this side. So as you can see, I'm working pretty quickly here. I don't want my shadow to be perfect, like a perfect line or anything. I'm just more or less dabbing the paint into this section here. And this is also to indicate that the seahorse here has a lot of bumps, especially in the tail. So don't make it too smooth here with the shadows. And really try to not be too precise. You don't have to fill out these squares perfectly. I think it really looks more organic when you just kind of dab the paint in and leave some little spaces in between. Okay, I'm just looking at the comments and seeing that my mom is drinking eine Rotweinschorle. Oh my God. Who does that? So what she's saying is she's drinking red wine that she watered down with either, I'm not sure, sparkling water or tap water. Mama, hast du deine Rotweinschorle mit Mineralwasser verdünnt, mit Sprudelwasser oder mit normalem Wasser? So I just asked her if she used sparkling water or regular water. I've never heard of anybody watering down their red wine. I mean, I know that they do it with white wine, and it's actually quite refreshing. I like it when you water down your white wine with sparkling water. It's really nice, refreshing drink for the summer. But with red wine, I don't know. Was? Wie, in der Pfalz gibt's das auch mit dem Shoppen? Nee. Ach, ja, sowas. Ich weiß wieder von nix. Mensch, ey. Okay, well, you guys are just telling me that over in Germany it's pretty common to water down red wine. It sounds weird to me. Mit Fanta, also jetzt, also nee, also hört doch auf. Fanta und Rotwein? Oh. Apologies to everybody who doesn't speak German. I'm just kind of outraged here that somebody would mix red wine with Fanta. You know, Fanta, the orangey, sparkling lemonade type of stuff. Yeah, no way, no way. This can't be good. But I'll try it. I'll try it because I'm curious. And if Melly says it's good, I at least have to give it a try. Because I trust you guys. Okay, so we're having discussions about wine. I love it. Ooh, okay. So Sylvie says that what she calls a shoppen, that's a very German expression, is more than half a liter. So you get like one glass, half a liter. That's how much is it? Is it 16 ounces? Just imagine a huge glass of wine with a little bit of water. So there is this thing where in the wine regions in Germany, they have tours. So you can use your bicycle and you can go from vineyard to vineyard and drink those shoppen. But honestly, I would not be able to make it back on my bicycle after station 1. I just couldn't. I mean, just the thought of drinking so much wine, even if it's watered down with water, couldn't do it. Would be very funny for outsiders to watch me try to get back on my bicycle. Okay, hold on. What Alina is saying that in Romania, you guys mix red wine with Coca-Cola? Ho, 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 ho. Now this is outrageous. I know that some people mix beer with Coca-Cola, right? Let me tell you folks, I like my red wine pure, unwatered, and just red wine. But that's just me. So while we're discussing the many ways you can mix red wine with other things, I finished up my shadow parts here. So I added a little bit more to this little fin part on this side and also to the head here. Again, if you're not completely satisfied with how the shadows look right now, don't worry. In the next step, we're gonna add some colored pencil. And we're gonna make it look even better. Alina says she doesn't identify. So, yes. Holy moly, what? Oh my gosh, the comments are so hilarious right now. So Sylvie says, what did you call Gaddafi? Oh my gosh. Can I even say this aloud? It's okay if you guys put it in the comments, but I'm not sure if I can go this far. Cola with red wine. Oh my goodness. That's so sad and so funny too. Okay. Let's switch over to our colored pencils. And honestly, for this step, it doesn't really matter if you use water-soluble colored pencil or just regular. I'd say for the really fine details, I would probably prefer using regular colored pencil, because at least for my climate here, if I look at my water-soluble colored pencil, they tend to get a bit soft. This is probably due to the heat and the humidity here, and I can't sharpen them to the same kind of pointy tip as I can my regular ones. So for today, I have two Caran supracolor, so these are water-soluble, these two colors. And then I have Caran Luminance. This is a regular one. It has a lot of texture. It's very grainy. And I also have a derwent, which is a British colored pencil. And I love this color. I don't know why they call it strawberry. I'd call it a burnt sienna. I mean, I guess you could have burnt sienna looking strawberries, but then I wouldn't eat them. So look at this really cool color. It's almost like a fox brown. Very pretty. It's probably my favorite color of all the derwent colored pencils. So I'm usually not very fond of the Chromaflows because they break all the time, literally. And I tried different ones. I have a whole set, and it's really a problem that occurs a lot, unfortunately, even though they have great colors. But the breakage is something where I'm like, I'm not gonna buy those again. All right, let me just, yeah, look at this nice tip. I mean, this is like so cool how much you can sharpen these guys. Not gonna sharpen this because it might actually break. All right. Okay. We guys still talking mixed drinks? Oh, hi. Yeah, hello. Oh, hi, baby. All right. My neighbor's dogs just came over, so you'll hear some of those sounds going on. Okay. Oh, so important. One more tip. When you want to draw into your still wet watercolors, I would always recommend using water-soluble colored pencils. You can actually really easily draw on top of still wet watercolors without ripping the paper. It's not a problem. However, if you use regular colored pencil and try to draw on paper that is still wet from the watercolor, it's very likely that you're just gonna rip the paper. So make sure if you have regular color pencils today for this step that everything is really dry. If you have water-soluble color pencils, you can go straight in and it will actually mix and blend beautifully with your watercolors. Okay, so all I'm doing here is just kind of like emphasizing the shadows that I already painted by going over everything, scribbling with my color pencil. And as I said before, this is a water-soluble color pencil, so I'm not worried about tearing up some fibers of the paper or anything. It'll just be mixing and blending really nice with the watercolor. Adding some little spots and dots here, and just reinforcing the shadows I already painted. Then over here, emphasizing the zigzag line here in the belly area. Then same here on the back side of the seahorse. So I tend to not draw lines all in one stroke when I add details with colored pencil. It's almost like I'm making a dotted line. I think this is kind of like a question of taste and style. For me, it tends to look a bit more loose, and I kind of like that. So again, if you want a really nice, straight, perfect outline, you can also use another medium, like a fine liner, for example. All right, and I have to say, I kind of don't really love the way that the fin here in the back looks. Using just the color pencil, I mean. So I'm gonna just go in with my number 4 round brush and just add a few fine lines here. And I also forgot the eye earlier. Let me zoom in because the eyes look very interesting with seahorses. The pupils of seahorses are not round. They kind of look like this, like a rectangle. I noticed that when I looked really close at a seahorse eye. It's very interesting. It reminds me, I think goats have these kind of eyes too, don't they, and alligators? I'm not sure about the goats. I think they do. Like you have a, you know, you have the eye and then the pupil is kind of like this. Right? Yeah, it's fascinating. So I always thought that the shape of the pupil has something to do whether or not you have like a predator animal or an animal that a lot of other animals like to eat, and it makes them be better in their environment, see better what they need to see. But I'm not quite sure how it plays with the seahorse underwater. It seems to be such a different environment than on land. So I'm not quite sure why they have these kind of pupils. You know, it's so fascinating. There's so many different things out there. Yesterday we watched one of the BBC documentaries. You know, they did these incredible documentaries like Blue Planet and Green Earth, and the things they film. We saw this cuttlefish that was able to change color in a way that really looks like an MTV video, flashing, almost like flashing lights. I mean, it was so incredible. And for the seahorses, because they're so extremely shy here and hard to find in Hawaii, there's not much known, particularly not about this one. They're not even sure if this is really a Hawaiian seahorse or if it occurs in different parts of the world. They're not sure if this smooth seahorse maybe is not a whole, how do you say, one of its kind, but in the sense that maybe there are subspecies of the smooth seahorse, so it's not just one smooth seahorse, but there are many different ones. It's very hard to find out stuff about these, I guess, because they are so hard to find. Okay. All right, I'm just checking to see how dry everything is, because in the next step I want to use my non-water soluble, my regular color pencil to add some details. Oh, let's just try it. I'll see right away if it works. Yeah, it's pretty good. So in every spot where these lines meet, I'm adding a little bit of my sienna brown, reddish brown color. And emphasizing the back spine line here as well. Down here in the tail section, I'll just add a few quick strokes like this. Now you can feel free to use whatever color you like. I said in the beginning of the challenge that you're free to choose your colors. There's no limited color palette for this challenge this year. And if you want to paint a pink seahorse with purple dots, I'd love to see it. I've actually seen a few people already entering paintings that are totally different color choices, and they looked fabulous. Like last week there was a pink and green monk seal, and I think it was Dorit. I think she painted a monk seal in acrylics, which looked so fabulous. So I really want to encourage you guys this year to try out whatever you want, literally. Color-wise, you can just go crazy. And for me personally, I mean, you know that I love using tropical bright colors, especially neon pink and bright teal. And ever since I started that, I realized how much it helped me to just become more open to really just go ahead and try out whatever color I feel that day. And naturally, you know, I also want to be able to draw animals in the colors that they are, like this one here, for example. But again, I can only encourage you to try and also paint animals in wrong colors, so to speak. I think it just really opens up your mind. And also, you don't feel like you can do things wrong. I mean, if you already pick the wrong, in quotation mark, colors. Okay, so what you can hear now is the daily drama of my neighbor trying to start his truck. And Leo, his little dog, going crazy about that. It happens every day, you guys. You'd think that my dog would just get used to it, right? Yeah, you're still not used to it, right? It happens every day, Leo. Yeah, every day. It's like this dog wakes up every day, fresh start. He does not remember that my neighbor has a big truck that does not start. Please tell me your dog does that too. Oh, thank goodness. The truck started, so He's gonna leave and the dog's gonna calm down again. All right. I can already tell I added a lot more texture today, and I personally love it. I love it. I love texture. But compare it to this one here, it looks very different. And it's probably also due to the fact that this paper here is a hot press and it's not 100% cotton. So the texture of this cold press rough surface arches paper is very different. So when I show you a close-up, you can see that the color pencil really picks up the kind of pattern and structure of the paper, which I personally really love. If you, however, prefer illustrations to be more smooth, then try out a hot press paper or a smooth paper. It'll be totally different. The outcome will be so different. Okay. Sylvie just says that she loves painting with all of us here, and I can only give that back to you. This is so lovely. I really enjoy it, and I also really enjoy that my mom is there. I know that she doesn't paint along with us, but just knowing that she's there and watching and commenting and drinking her Rotweinschorle. That's absolutely lovely. Okay, so yeah, my mom, she can paint, but her forte is actually Japanese calligraphy. She's really good at it, like really good. Absolutely lovely stuff she can do with a big calligraphy brush, and then, you know, like this magic where she can write these Japanese characters that I can't even memorize at all. So, you know, calligraphy with these is do. Okay. Oh, Tanja! Ja, servus! Oh, schön. Ja, Mai. Okay, all right. So next step, my dears, we're gonna add the background. I just saw that I wanted to add a little bit more here. I kind of did not use my luminance today. Okay, let me just add a few more little strokes with my dark brown Castle Earth. It's very similar to Van Dyke brown. Very, very nice, yummy dark brown. Yeah, I could do this forever. So nice to add texture. At some point, I just have to stop myself, which would be now, so that we can paint the background. All right, so for the background, as you can see here, there's some really nice color blending going on here. So the way you do that is you first paint the light turquoise layer, and then while the paint is still wet, you drop in the blue, and then you tilt the paper like this. Now you gotta be really careful. If you have a lot of water on your paper and you tilt it too much, you're just gonna have everything run over your seahorse. So honestly, if you've never done this before, I would recommend that you either only paint one color in your background or use a different piece of paper first to practice the tilting, so you can have a better feeling for how much you want to tilt the paper. And as I mentioned in the beginning, for this particular technique, it's really nice to have 100% cotton paper. However, if you don't despair. This is, as I said, not cotton paper, and it also works. You just have to be a bit more aware that with paper that is not cotton, the paint will sit on top of the paper, and you will be able to move it a lot more easily. Whereas with cotton paper, the pigments and the water go into the paper fiber. So you'll be able, first of all, to move your pigments around for a longer time, and you won't have these kind of water lakes that tend to happen on non-cotton paper, you know, where the water just sits on top of the paper, almost as if it were plastic. So that's really a difference you have to take into consideration when you choose your paper. Okay, remember you guys that I used a water-soluble yellow color pencil for my outline on my seahorse. So when I add water now to the background, I have to be careful to not rub against my color pencil line here, because otherwise I'm gonna have yellow color seep into my background. Now I personally don't really mind that much, but if you'd like to have a very clear blue background, just be careful that you don't touch your color pencil outline that you did in the beginning. You can actually even leave a tiny sliver of white in between the background and the seahorse. Okay, Sylvie, you guys, also makes watercolors. That's why she's asking the question right now. So she also makes her own watercolors, and she just created a really beautiful green. It's kind of like, if you guys know Jade Vine, one of my paints, and Jungle. It's kind of a mix of that, of phthalo, turquoise, and green mix. Really beautiful. And yes, I think that would be perfect for the background, Sylvie. Oh, and I just saw that Rosie is here too. Hi, Rosie. Und Julia. Hello, hello. Okay, so I'm just laying down a layer of water all around my seahorse, trying to not touch my outline too much. Gesundheit. Guess they didn't hear me. We currently have guests staying in our Airbnb, and 2 of them are also from Germany. Kind of felt sorry for these guys yesterday. I mean, they arrived in the pouring rain. I was like, oh my gosh. It's like you have the same weather here than you have back home. It's mean. You come to Hawaii for some nice tropical sunshine, and then it's like cold and rainy. But it's easing up a little bit. Today is gonna be much better. All right, okay, so I filled in everything with water except for the tail area here. Okay, here we go. And in the next step, I'm gonna grab my light turquoise. This color is called Ice Queen. And now you gotta work quickly while the paper is still wet. If you use paper that's not cotton, you gotta work even faster, because usually paper that's not cotton will just be, you won't be able to move the pigments around for as long as you can with cotton paper. All right, if you use another natural fiber paper like bamboo, for example, you can pretty much treat it as cotton paper. I mean, it doesn't work the exact same way, but it's, I think, more close in how it behaves to cotton than to the other wood pulp paper. All right, so we have a very nice even layer of Ice Queen, light turquoise. Now you'll pick up some of the blue paint. This one I have here is called Pacific. You drop it here in the center. Okay, now you can start tilting. If it doesn't run at all, pick up some water with your brush while you hold the paper tilted like this. You can gently and carefully drop in some water and kind of push. You see that, how I pushed my brush towards the outside, like out like this. And on this side you can already see it kind of naturally happens over on this side. The kind of effect that I wanted to have here is to imitate flowing seaweed. And of course you can absolutely go in and add more pigment to make the effect look stronger. Or if you want actual seaweed to flow in the background, you can of course also use a small brush and just paint it in. It's very important that your seahorse is dry when you do this. If any parts of your seahorse are still wet, there's this danger of the blue paint just bursting into your seahorse. So just make sure your seahorse is dry before you apply the background blue. Okay, so I feel like the line here is a bit too sharp, so I'm just gonna do the same thing but in reverse, kind of. So just to have my blue paint flow downwards a little bit too. If it gets a bit out of control like it does here, rinse your brush and dry it, and then just carefully pick up some of that pigment. You can also just spread it around a little bit so it mixes better with the other color. And again, you can use your brush to literally push the pigment around in the direction where you want it to go, or push it back. Once you stop tilting the paper, it should kind of stay put. Now it really depends on what paints you use. Some paints react very strongly with water. If you've ever used my paint called Aubergine, you will know that when you use that with water, it kind of explodes like a firework. And for that reason also, I recommend that you maybe do a little thumbnail first, you know, different kind of different piece of paper, and just test out the color before you use it on your seahorse painting. All right, so this does not look like seaweed today, but I kind of like the effect. It looks really neat. I like it. This is more like an abstract background, just indicating that the seahorse is in the water. The only thing I'm doing here is to just fill in a blank space, a white blank space that I felt was maybe a bit too much here. Okay. All right, I'm looking over to the comments, and Melly says she's using mixed media paper with 25% cotton. That's pretty much like hot press. And yeah, is that the Fabriano? And she loves using that because it works well for color pencils. Yes, I agree. I mean, really the smoothness of hot press paper brings out a more smooth finish of your mixed media piece. Whereas, yeah, the really rough texture makes the whole piece look a bit more rough. Okay, oh, it's Sennelier? Ah, I think actually, I'm not sure if they make their own paper, so it might actually be another brand. You know how big companies sometimes, you know, like Winsor and Newton, for example, they buy their paper somewhere else. They don't make it themselves. Or Etcher, they also buy Fabriano paper. It's interesting. I really love Sennelier. It's like one of my favorite watercolor companies. Gotta try out that paper too. All right, my dears, I think this is it for today. And as Sylvie mentioned earlier, I would be thrilled if you would give me a little heart for this video, or even, you know, comment some little emojis like my mom loves doing whenever she sends me a text. It's like 50 emojis and 5 words. So totally love that. Okay, I'm gonna turn around the camera and talk about what we'll do next week. Hold on. So, sorry, it's gonna shake again. You know how that goes. All right. Turn this around. Ta-da! Hello, hello. Here I am again. Hold on. Let me put this into the holder. One of these days, I'll find a better solution for this. Here we go. Okay. All right, you guys, I hope you enjoyed today's session of our smooth seahorse. Just gonna check if it's dry enough. And next week, we'll have a turtle. However, I have to say the turtle, that would be a really long live session. I don't think I could squeeze it into 1.5 hours. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna record a video tutorial and I'll put it here on YouTube. I will have a step-by-step tutorial as well, but I mean, you can see all these little details. It's a lot of teeny tiny work. So for next week, it's just going to be a video tutorial. But for the week after the coral reef, I have a really cool technique that I want to show you. And that's going to be another live stream. So towards the end of January, you can see me here again for another live stream. But for now, I wish you a very good day or evening, wherever you are. I hope you liked the session. And I'll see you next time. All right.